What the fuck is the Mothman doing in Chicago? So, something I've only just recently started really wanting to talk about is my love for the supernatural and the paranormal, and that includes cryptids, ghosts, spirits, demons, extraterrestrials, the works. Even if it is complete bullshit, I have fun looking into it. I do believe that there's more to this world than we understand, but that's beside the point. The purpose of me coming to you in these adventures, at least so I have it right now, is to present information and to let you come up with your own opinions. There's no other cryptid than the Mothman that has captured my imagination and left me completely stumped. Like, I've got a slight explanation for almost anything, and by explanation I mean my best guess for like Loch Ness, Bigfoot, ETs, stuff like that. The Mothman continues to perplex me just because there's so much around this story about the Mothman that I'm just... Hello, future editing Jakel here. Just wanted to add real quick, I was going to do a crash course. I had filmed it and it wound up being like 10 minutes, and this video is long enough as it is. So instead, I'm going to drop a link in the description to a video here on YouTube. It's a 3-part docu-series. Well, it's one thing, but because it's YouTube, it got broken up into 3 sections. And if you want the longer discourse on the Mothman, it's about, I don't know, 45 minutes all in all, if you want to go give that a look. Basically, I find it interesting because you hear about the Mothman, you think about just the Mothman, but there's actually UFOs and men in black that are involved. It's the Mothman is not just the Mothman. There's so much else that goes with it. And if you want to find out more on that, hit that link in the description below. Now, back to my video. All of that going on with all of that story, there has been another Mothman that has been sighted in and around the Chicagoland area. These reports go all the way back until like the 70s, but they really kicked up and spiked up in 2017. And that's what we are going to investigate here to see if it actually is the Mothman, and to actually like present how deep this goes and how many sightings there actually are. Let's get to it. I don't know if I'm going to need the headphones, but just in case. Also, I feel more like an official YouTuber with the headphones, or some excuse to keep wearing them. So, just like any good journalistic investigator, I go to Google first. And as you can tell, I've already done some light research. The case of the Chicago Mothman, NPR. So let's just read some of this to get a gist of what's going on. The Chicago region has been experiencing a collective case of the heebie-jeebies in recent years ever since reports of a giant flying winged humanoid began surfacing in 2011. The reports, which peaked in 2017, inspired Chicago-based comics artist Sarah Bacon to bring Curious City this question. There was a rash of sightings in Chicago of a creature that people then called the Chicago Mothman. Did we ever find out what it was? Of course we didn't. Well, despite exhaustive research, interviews with witnesses, and cryptozoologists, and one good old-fashioned monster hunt, we were unable to get to the bottom of the mystery, which is why I'm here. But for the sake of science, we've compiled everything we were able to surmise into a digital case file. Our hope is that Chicagoans will be able to keep this investigation going so that we may one day meet our winged friend and ride upon him like a luck dragon. I'm sorry, lady. I'm assuming this is a woman. Okay, maybe it's not. Who wrote it? Following several reports of it. Okay, for some reason I've just got this in my head that who wrote this is a woman. I don't know why, but for some reason it's just in my head. Okay, person of ambiguous sexual orientation. I do not want to ride the Mothman like a freaking luck dragon. I am not finding a Mothman and naming him Falcor, okay? Disclaimer, we're not responsible for any laws broken in the pursuit of Mothman, blah, blah, blah. Let's highlight this real quick. And of course, I'm going to push buttons. We're not responsible for any laws that are broken in the pursuit of the Mothman, nor are we responsible for the factualness of any of the information contained herein. The following information could not be used as an excuse to trespass on private property or ensnare your hairier relatives with a comically large butterfly net. You know, I appreciate the way that was written. I really do. But that was just a long way of saying this is written for entertainment purposes only. So I'm just going to... Oh, hang on. Physical characteristics, size and shape, between 6 and 10 feet tall, 10 plus foot wingspan. Species, it's been compared to a big owl, a pterosaur, or a bat. Eye color, red eyes, green eyes, yellow eyes, and orange eyes have all been reported. Probably all the other colors, too. Other purported features: fur, leather-like skin, bat wings, no neck, which is already deviating from the original Mothman from Point Pleasant. Possibly confused with a barred owl, shitepoke? Shitepoke, okay. That makes my Scottish ancestors laugh. A drone costume, okay. Or some other Chicago cryptid, okay. Behavior: screaming, flying toward lake, disappearing, going really fast, portenting, looking at people with eyeballs. Am I looking at you with eyeballs? Sorry, I'm just nitpicking here. I'm trying to have fun. So, to whoever wrote this, I mean no disrespect. I really don't. And before you get worried, links in the description below. Diet: Mothman is alleged to have eaten a German Shepherd belonging to Newell Patridge of Salem, West Virginia in 1967. Oh, so this is going back. I'm trying to focus on the Chicago Mothman. Sightings in the city. Mothfolk are spotted all over, though most often by bodies of water. Sightings collected via the Phantoms and Monsters website, which we will be going to in just a minute. Compiled here and in this map. Standout witness statements are excerpted below. So I'm just going to drop a link in the description so you can go back and read this, because this was what led me onto finding Phantoms and Monsters, which is actually a pretty legit site. Well, if you're into the cryptozoology stuff like I am. Just realized that my mouse wasn't showing up in the recording. I like having my mouse available. So, Phantoms and Monsters. Oh, hang on, scratch that. That last site led me to Phantoms and Monsters, but before we get into that, I forget where I stumbled onto it. But here is a timeline by singular14.com. Up here, singular14. And oh, look, they've got a little logo here too. But they also put together a timeline of the Lake Michigan Mothman sightings so far. And see, this is why I like these really dedicated ghost hunters and cryptozoologists, because the mainstream media will be like, oh, they're just a bunch of crackpots wasting time, but they actually have this person put together an entire list dating all the way back to October 27th, 1969. And if you aren't sure, there's actual citations. Okay, some of them have citations. But a lot of them actually go back to actual... I just lost my train of thought. Some of them are legit, some of them are speculation, okay? Let's just leave it at that. Long story short, I respect the shit out of this, and it shows the talent and dedication that people have, even if it is something as silly as cryptozoology and shit like that. So let's skim through. So back in 69, young child is abducted from his home for an indeterminate amount of time by a tall winged humanoid being before being returned. Let's take a look at this one. This one goes all the way back to 1969. And, I just clicked on this one, but I didn't read it. An image of the creature provided by Hancock, credit Floyd R. Hancock. Guess we'll figure out who that is. Article by Tobias Wayland, February 24th, 2019. Lon Stickler. Now, we will be seeing Lon Stickler's name a lot because they have put together a very extensive list. And I don't know if they run Phantoms and Monsters or if they're just like lead investigator or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But when regarding this case, Lon Stickler comes up a lot. Lon Stickler of Phantoms and Monsters spoke to witness Floyd R. Hancock recently, who described a terrifying encounter with a tall, winged humanoid that he had as a young child in Rolling Prairie, Indiana, October 27th, 1969. Hancock states that he and his family, mother, father, sister, and grandmother, were living in a trailer situated on their family's land. The trailer had sustained damage on the roof, leaving a large hole. The hole was covered with a wide, waterproof tarp until it was to be repaired. Strickler... Lon Strickler? Have I been saying that wrong? Strickler said he and his babysitter shared a bedroom. What? That's not weird. He was awakened by a strange noise and a strong, disagreeable odor. So it was a shit stank. As he looked toward his sister's crib, he saw a tall winged humanoid staring down at her. Slowing the being slowing turned and looked at a horrified Hancock. The creature was described as being very tall, between 7 and 8 feet in height, with a body and face covered in black hair. Okay, this already doesn't sound like the Mothman. It is interesting, but right there I'm like, the Mothman's never been reported to really have hair. But for the sake of, what's the word I'm looking for, brevity, I'm going to read a little bit more, because there is a chance that whatever is being coined as the Chicago Mothman isn't actually the Mothman, but it's something similar. So let's see if there's other defining features that might be similar to other sightings down the road. 8 feet tall, with a body and face covered in black hair. Its posture was crouched. It had huge leathery wings shaped like those of a bat or gargoyle, and muscular arms and legs. The creature's body and face were thin and looked like a human skeleton, with sharp teeth and dark eyes. It made a low, garbled sound. Hancock screamed in order to alert his parents in the adjoining room, but they never responded. His grandmother was alerted and came to his aid, though she was stunned at the sight, immediately fell to her knees. Creature picked up Hancock in its arms and made its way to the living room, where it ascended through the hole in the ceiling. It's obvious it had moved to the moved the tarp in order to gain access inside the trailer. He remembers being very cold and wet and hearing his grandmother screaming as the winged humanoid took off into the sky. He has no idea how long he was gone, but only remembers waking in his bed among his panicked parents and grandmother. He continued. Hancock states that his grandmother witnessed the entire event and documented it. His living relatives concur with the account, since his grandmother recalled what had happened to each of them. His grandmother passed away in 85. So this definitely sounds like a fantastical story. Like, I believe in a lot of crazy shit, and I'm having a hard time believing it, but I'm not going to completely rule it out. Let's just take this information and tuck it away for just to have the information. All right, now there was one that I wanted to see specifically because I had heard about it as a kid. Now, I'm from a town in Lake County, Illinois. Near where I lived, there is a town called Waukegan. And so I grew up living with my great grandmother, my grandma, my mom, and my aunt's two kids. So we kind of grew up in a 3 bedroom trailer, and it was cramped, and that was the way until I was 13 years old when me and my mom moved out. My great grandmother, who we called Granny, I will be referring to as Granny from now on, my great grandmother, I started getting into horror and spooky stuff, and she was also into it. So my cousin would go to daycare. I would stay home with Granny, and we would watch spooky stuff and we'd get into it. So that was right around the time that the Mothman prophecies came out. And then she told me the story about the Mothman in Waukegan. And I thought she was full of it. I thought she was just trying to humor me, or it was, but no. It's actually mentioned in this list, so I'm going to find it real quick. Well, what do you know? I've been staring at it this whole time. Mid-June 1976, a man's vehicle is attacked by a winged black figure with glowing red eyes in Waukegan, Illinois. I don't want to completely dox myself, but I'll say I'm from that stretch that Winthrop Harbor, Zion, Beach Park, Waukegan, Wadsworth, Gurnee. I'm from that general area, and I know it really well. Spiritual author shares story of a late father's 1976 encounter with red-eyed black-winged being. Oh, small print, small print. Okay, hang on. Who wrote it? Tobias Wayland, May 1st, 2019. Singular Fortean Society was contacted recently by a spiritual author and business owner, Nefer Khepri. I'll open that in a new tab. Who wished to share her late father's sightings of a black figure with glowing red eyes. According to the email, oh yeah, if I'm sniffling and sound congested, it's because I've been sick since frickin' Thanksgiving. And it's just gotten worse again. I swear I've got pneumonia or something. So yeah. If you were wondering, yes, I'm sick. I'd like to report. Oh, sorry. According to an email sent by Capri, I'm just going to keep saying Capri. Capri, Capri. Capri sounds better. God bless it. My fat fingers. I'd like to report secondhand what my dad saw in 1976. I was 14 at the time. I grew up in Waukegan. My dad worked part-time nights at Victory Memorial Hospital. I'm not going to, oh God. I know this hospital really well for various reasons. Victory Memorial Hospital, which I believe is located along Sheridan Road. It's just off of Sheridan Road. After working one night, he went to help a friend who had car trouble at the Marathon Restaurant. Okay, I don't recognize Marathon Restaurant, but shit closes down all the time over there, which was located along train tracks by Johnson Outboard Motor Company right on Lake Michigan. Okay, I can guess where that was. Because it's that whole area, North Chicago, Waukegan, Beach Park, what else is there? Zion, Winthrop Harbor. That whole stretch is right off of the lake. It was a full moon. They were in the parking lot where my dad was giving the guy's car a jump when Dad, as he so often did, or as he so often told it, suddenly felt scared, as if something was watching him. Oh, them. Oh, excuse me. There were two or more very tall silos there, or some such structure. They were probably 3 stories high. As Dad looked up in the moonlight, he saw a black figure crouched down watching them. It had glowing red eyes. He told his friend to look so they both saw it. Dad said the creature was probably around 6 feet tall because it was so high up, and even from that angle it looked large. It definitely was not a bird or anything he had ever seen before. Dad said he sensed it was evil, removed the jumper cables, and he and his friend took off in Dad's car. They didn't even bother to lock up his friend's car. They were that frightened. As they drove off, they heard a loud swishing sound, and then something seemed to hit and the slide across the top of my dad's car. He kept going, convinced that thing was trying to drive them off the road. The next day, Dad was freaking out because you could see 3 long scratches on the roof of his car. I saw them myself. They were about a 1/4 inch apart. They were There were 4 of them, and it looked like the talon of a large bird had scratched the car, which is very possible. There's peregrine falcons in that area, but none of them are going to be 6 feet tall. From that point on, I was banned from going to the lake after dark, and my dad didn't even like me going there during the day either. I had heard of reports of winged creatures until I read your article, so just had to share. Never heard of reports. Holy shit, these guys do their research. Singular Fortean Society's Tobias Whalen corresponded with Khepri, who provided additional details to her father's sighting. My dad got off work at 10. It's probably a 15-minute drive to Marathon from the hospital, maybe 20. So I'd estimate the sighting occurred around 10:30. I remember school had just let out for the summer. It was before my birthday, which was June 19th. My dad always stressed the moon was full. Historical weather data revealed that the moon fell on the 11th of June 1976, which was a Friday. Moonrise on the 11th was 8:01 p.m., and the weather conditions were fair, meaning that the moon would have been high in the sky and visible at 10:30 that evening, marking it as the likeliest day for the encounter. Man, I thought I was good with my journalistic inquisitive nature. These guys just blew me out of the fucking water. Waukegan is a city on the northern edge of Chicago's metropolitan area. It's like an hour north of Chicago, but the train tracks that they were talking about, the trains, lead directly to Ogilvie Station. I've taken that trip myself for the hell of it. It's bordered to the west by County Forest Preserve. Let me restart. It's bordered to the west by the County Forest Preserve and the northeast by the Illinois Beach Nature Preserve. So yeah, I just thought this was exciting because I had heard this story growing up, and now there's actually uh here it is. It's right here. So I thought that was cool. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going through several different specific articles. I'm just going to go ahead and just talk about what I see. A man in rural Indiana sees human-like flying creature with glowing red eyes back in 87. Nothing until 97. Several witnesses encounter frightening winged gargoyles in Rock Island and Naperville. 99. Sees red-eyed gargoyle. 2 friends surprised by weird winged entity in Goshen Dam in Indiana. 2001, man with wings in Milwaukee, which is way far north. 2001 sees 4 red-eyed winged humanoids fly over her home in Berwyn, Illinois, which is quite a bit south. I don't know how far south, but quite a bit south. A woman sees winged humanoids swoop over her car, and see, so there's only a couple, if only one, every year for a while. 2003, 2004, 2004, 2006, 2007, 2010. And a woman and her family see man with bat lying near a vehicle while driving in southern Wisconsin. I might. Ah, God bless it. I pushed the wrong button. 2007, 2010, 2010, 2011, 2011, and this is really where things start to pick up. 2012, 2014, 15, well, that's all the way out in Gary, Indiana. Sees a crow man hovering in 2015 to 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16. This is where it picks up. Right here. Nope. So I'm all right, 2016. So hang on, let's just go back to 15. Gary, Indiana sees a dark grayish prehistoric bird with smooth leathery skin. God bless it. Crowman hovering over a high-rise near Chicago's Washington Park. Woman sees hulking hunched over winged being across the street as she takes out the garbage out that morning. Prehistoric bird after she drops her kids off at school in Gary, so it appears that there is a separate prehistoric bird in Gary. Man sees large winged humanoid perched on a lamppost in Cicero. Hey, is there pictures of this one? There again, in Gary, right here, another prehistoric bird. So I'm thinking these sightings in Gary are separate from the Mothman. Are there pictures? I want pictures. Okay, there's no pictures. Lame. I want pictures. In Whitewater, Wisconsin, woman sees a man being with pterodactyl-like wings across the highway in Whitewater, Wisconsin. Man and his son see a large dark flying humanoid while duck hunting in West Alton, Missouri. Okay, that's a little out of the way. Man driving on Interstate 294 sees what he thinks is a person turned into a large black bird. What's that one? I know 294. That's the main highway that goes through this whole area. Sightings of a strange shape-shifting being occurred, a late flying humanoid. In a comment to an article on Mothman appearing on True Strange Library website, a woman recounted something seen by her husband while he was driving at night near Chicago. Okay, this is crazy. Back on February 8th, just after what I am, I messaged a medium friend of mine. The woman commented, I'll copy and paste the message I sent. Hey, sorry to bother you, but you was the first person I thought of to ask about this. What do you think of this? What do you think it means? My husband, John, who's a huge skeptic, as we all know, and doesn't believe in stuff like this, was just driving home in the dark and he saw what he thought was a person running on 2 legs across the highway, and then it turned into a giant black bird and flew up away. He swears it was running on 2 legs, then was the biggest bird he ever saw flying with long legs. What are your thoughts? Sounds creepy to me. Shapeshifter, angel, demon, he's all creeped out now. We came to the conclusion, maybe the shapeshifter, she said. Maybe a shapeshifter. This happened 294 near 111th, shortly after midnight between Worth and Chicago Ridge. So that's a little south of where I'm used to, but I still thought that was cool. Just a person and all of a sudden runs, jumps. Right, this one has a picture. That's oh God. Bat-like flying creature photographed in Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood. That tiny little booger, that speck of a hair. I'm not gonna lie, that looks a little shopped. At least this one does. Looks a little shopped. That one looks more natural. Oh, okay, hang on. There's multiple different ones. So this one's Pilsen neighborhood. Shows creature. So these are several different uh these are different pictures that all look similar. That one could be anything. That one is the most convincing to me, but I'm not sure if I am convinced. And this one, straight up, I don't buy it. Because if you see here, there's a little bubble, a little, that I'll just call it a bubble around this. So it looks like this was put in, and then this little bubble is the shading work that the proof that somebody shot it in. So, alright, debunked that one. And what was the other one? June 25th. Oh, here we go. Shows a large flying creature caught on home security camera in Rantoul, Illinois. And this one's interesting because here's the head, here it's hunched over, so here's the thing, and this looks like a box or a chimney. Looks like Santa Claus is taking a dump in a chimney. Not gonna lie. So this is what it's perched on. Here's the light behind it, and this little extra sort of dense foggier, ectoplasmic being over here is what we're talking about. Ooh, hey, there's a video. I knew I'd need the headphones. Oh, I was like 2 frames. Does it pop up again? No? Okay. So, alright. Let's see, where is it? So it's no. So this is definitely the thing. So let's take it back just another brief second. So you see, it actually looks like there's something that went in front of it. Because the way that the light actually dims around it, it looks like it's actually affecting the surrounding area. Yeah. It actually looks like the light is bending around it. It's actually blocking out the light. So I definitely believe. I no longer believe that it's Santa Claus shitting in a chimney. uh, I actually definitely believe that it was something. What is the question? Investigative journalism is kind of boring. As if this is genuine investigative journalism, but this is how you do it in today's day and age. So, we're going to move on to a different site now, away from the chronicling, and that's going to be Phantoms and Monsters. It was Phantoms and Monsters, right? Yes, Phantoms and Monsters. And this is where that Lon Strickler. This is where they are based out of. This is their main central hub of operations. And there are a couple of interesting points that I wanted to highlight and point out and present in this. Because like I said, before I came to this video, I actually did some light research because there is so much to this. Like I thought I was just going to, when I first thought about this, I thought I was just going to talk about the Mothman and talk about why I thought it was cool. But this took precedence. I'm rambling at this point. Let's go check out Phantoms and Monsters. So here we are at Phantoms and Monsters, the pulse of the paranormal. So they seem to put out every day, every couple of days, a new article to be on the front page of their site. And they offer Phantoms and Monsters Fortean research / Pennsylvania lichen investigation. So it seems like I don't know if Lon Strickler is part of the Fortean Society or if they just work closely together. Here, let's learn more about Lon Strickler. Lon Strickler is a male person. For some reason, I thought Lon was female. It's just the name. Here I go, assuming people's genders just by name. Curse me. 14 researcher, author, writer at Phantoms and Monsters blog, co-host at The Existence of the Strange Things on Radio Memphis, intuitive mystic at Astral Perceptions Universal. So what, is he an intuitive mystic? Or is that the name of something else? Whatever. I began the Phantoms and Monsters blog in 2005. So he did start this. Got it. Which has steadily grown in popularity and read daily by tens of thousands of paranormal enthusiasts, investigators, and those seeking the truth. My research and reports have been featured on hundreds of online media sources. Several of these published reports have been. So this is the subject. This is where he's jerking his own gherkin. Which he should. He's definitely deserved it, is what it sounds like. But hell, I jerk my gherkin all the time online to just get people to come in. And yep, you jerked your gherkin right all over me, Mr. Stickler. And as a Monsters 14 research in conjunction with the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society, Crypto 4. Okay, so he's in cahoots with several different paranormal groups. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a link to the main Phantoms and Monsters homepage, as well as this one. Where is it? Ah, there we go. Chicago Regional Winged Humanoid Flying Entity Sightings and Encounters. And here is another list of all of these different encounters. But so far, what the hell is that? That's spooky. But enough of this. If you want to go check it out, I just wanted to highlight this section so you can come check it out yourself if you're super interested. Because really that's what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to present information, and if you're really interested, jump on the hunt yourself. I'm just highlighting the parts that I think are really cool. So here's interactive maps. What is this? Oh yeah, front page. So here's the Canine Dogman Witness, but I am looking for Chicago Regional Winged Humanoid Flying Entity Sighting. This is the part that got me super fucking interested. When I was investigating on my own, I was just sort of like haphazardly looking into it, just sort of perusing. But this is the part that really got my attention, because this is literally where it hits home. I'm going to highlight a few. What was I saying? I'm going to highlight a couple of sightings that are very close to home, literally. And I am reluctant because I've had this fear that I would get doxxed. And then somebody would dig into my past and realize that I used to be a really shitty, shady person. And if you ask anybody from my previous life, they would all agree that I used to be kind of a bad person. So I've been afraid to mention where I'm from. If you go back to a couple of my other videos where I try to tell ghost stories, I outright say it's my hometown anyway. But I've been reluctant to say it in several videos because I don't want people to dig into my past, and that scares the shit out of me for some reason. But I feel like I need to say it and potentially throw myself under the bus for the sake of this case. Because it literally hits home. And I am very familiar with these particular locations. So, let's move forward. So, I was perusing. This was before I stumbled onto this page full of the timeline. And these are all numbered. Some of them going back all the way to like, I don't know, 2001. But as I was getting closer, I realized there's one in Kenosha. And there's one in Zion. Let's take a look at the Zion one real quick. Zion, Illinois, February 15th, 2018, 11:30 p.m. I was driving home on Route 94, headed back home. I pulled to the TA truck stop to get something to drink and something to eat. Now, this TA truck stop is right on state line. Like, here, you see my hand? Take my strong hand. This is the border, okay? That's Russell Road. Here's the lake. It goes all the way up here, and here's 94. The TA truck stop is right here. This is Sheridan Road. This is 21st Street, which becomes 173. So it's right here. Right here. I used to literally live... Hang on, 131. No, this is Sheridan. My bad. This is Sheridan. This is Green Bay. So this whole chunk of area, I am super... Hang on, let's... This area is what I know best, because that's where I grew up. I've been here before. I've been here before. I've seen it, I've passed it, I've driven past it, I've stopped there to pee. I've peed in their bathroom. Pulled into the TA truck stop to get something to drink and something to eat before finishing my trip home. It was about 11:30 on February 15th when I left the store and got into my car. As I was pulling out of the parking lot to get onto the interstate, I noticed what looks like a large person standing to the side of the road. This thing looks right at me with very bright red eyes, then opened a huge pair of wings and started to fly off like some kind of big bat. The whole damn thing took less than 5 seconds, but I know what I saw, and it looked like a giant skinny man with a large pair of wings and red eyes. I'm not sure what to tell you that it was, but I can assure you it's something I've never seen on the Discovery Channel before. So yeah. That's just crazy because I lived here growing up. Like, seriously, I lived, where is it? I lived right over here. I'm not going to say exactly there, but right in this general area. And right over here, there was a sighting. I grew up here, obsessing over cryptids and Bigfoot and Mothman. And there was a sighting right there. But now we're going to go further north into Kenosha, just on the other side of the border. Here's my hometown. Here's the sighting. Here's the border. 32 is Sheridan Road. I used to live over here too. Jelly Belly's pretty cool. It's the Jelly Belly factory. So this general area is Pleasant Prairie, and I forget where it is. Is it here? It's somewhere around here that it goes from Pleasant Prairie into Kenosha. But I just call it all Kenosha because it's like Winthrop Harbor I call Zion, even though it's not Zion. I call Pleasant Prairie Kenosha, even though it's not Kenosha. But everybody who's not from there calls all of this Chicago. So, oh, wrong button. I'm going to tell the story, and then I'm going to add a fun little side story. Man-Bat Encounter. Oh, thank you for putting this on the internet for the article of the Man-Bat a couple of years, late summer 2017. A friend and I were in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and on our way to northern Illinois, where we lived at the time after getting tattoos. I wonder if they were at the same place that I got my tattoo. Like, this one, and this one were all done by the same person, and they are out of Kenosha. Somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., I remember before approaching the train tracks on a road I cannot remember the name of, me and my friend in the car noticed a man-like creature with wings cross the street slow enough for us to be able to see the shape of the figure of what it was, but in an instant it was gone. Where was I? I lost my place. I don't remember the name of the shape of the figure, but in an instant it was gone, as if it was never there to begin with. 4 hours on our way back home, we discussed the thing that we had seen. Keep in mind, we had both seen it, so regardless if it was the late night hour, possible drowsiness, or lack of sleep, still can't explain the fact that we both saw the same thing. I have been curious is to the possibility of a creature or humanoid-like being existing. But now, after reading the article and moving from Illinois to Northwest Indiana, I am even more interested in now than ever. Thank you, JV. Note, it was later determined that the location was a public railway line that ended at 52nd Street near 13th Avenue. There was a railway overpass there as well. These tracks by the road stopped at 52nd Street. That being was seen crossing the railroad at this location. The description was very similar to others we have received, 5 to 6 foot in height, dark colored with bat-like wings. There was another recently received sighting report around the same time of a similar being crossing a road just south of Kenosha on Route 32, which is Sheridan, near the Illinois-Wisconsin border. Very similar description. Witness was fearful of talking about the incident in greater detail. Here's why this got my attention. So here's why this got my interest. Let's come a little closer. Alright, so where am I? Okay, so goodness gracious. Here's where the incident occurred. And here, this little gray line here, is the train tracks, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yes, that's the train tracks. So here's where the incident occurred. And since they were over here, I think that's where the tattoo shop was. Because this is the downtown area. Here's a lighthouse over here somewhere. Where's that, the lighthouse? Simmons Island. Yeah, this is all right over by the lighthouse. This is a big, huge Captain Mike's, great burgers. Good coffee shop. Frank's, oh my god, good fucking food. I'm getting carried away. I'm just remembering my hometown. Where was I? I know this area. So over here is the basic downtown area, which is why the train tracks are right there. If you follow the train tracks, coming this way. Ooh, Green Ridge Cemetery. That's supposedly haunted too. Been on several ghost hunts there. Beside the point. You go down this way, the train tracks cross Sheridan Road, which is what this big yellow one is here. Comes this way, and then it goes along this street. And then at some point, it comes along here in this general area. It is supposedly haunted. Let's back up a little bit. This general area is supposedly haunted by a woman in white. A woman with a white gown. She doesn't really approach anybody, but it's allegedly haunted by a woman that'll walk around. So to me, the fact that the train tracks go along this way and come down here, you know what, I'll get to the point. Hang on. There's a particular location. Alright, so I used to live over here on 165. If you go down 165, you get to this little area. There's Sheridan Road. You can also take this way, but I never took that way. 165. You go down this way, down Sheridan Road, all the way to 116th. If you go down 116th, there's the same train tracks. This gray line, same train tracks. You go down the train tracks and you go this way. And if you go down this way, there's actually an old Al Capone hideout down there. Regardless, 116th, you go down this way, and it's just a narrow backwoods kind of area. There's a lot of greenery, there's a lot of sand, there's a lot of beach. And this whole area over here is just a big old subdivision where there's normal houses, like actual, like nice houses. But if you go down this way, there are ridiculously nice houses. And again, this whole area is allegedly haunted. Here's Carroll Beach, which is a nice little beach where people don't really bother each other. Yeah, this whole area over here is just super nice, really expensive houses. I'm trying to find. We would go up this way. I'm trying to find the spot where I'm thinking of. We'd keep going down here, and we would either turn off here or down here. Somewhere between here, between 85th and 90th, we would turn off, and this 7th Avenue scared the shit out of me. I don't know why. Every time we were on it at night, I would get so super anxious. It was ridiculous. I would every fiber of my being would tell me to leave the area, leave the road. And this is nice and spooky because it's dark and the only place lighting it up, the only thing lighting it up is the light coming from the houses, like porch lights and stuff. There's not really any street lights or anything. And that was less spooky than this street to me. And I don't know why. And this goes all the way up, and it kind of gets better through here. You sort of emerge out into more civilized area once you get over here, and then it's not nearly as spooky anymore. Oh, hey, haunted cemetery. Anyhow. Hey, Kemper Center. That spot's also haunted. There's a lot of haunted spots in Kenosha. For those of you who don't know, I am, at least used to be a paranormal investigator, and I have been on several ghost hunts to some of these locations. Anyhow, 7th Avenue. You go down here, and here's the sand dunes. I don't know why. It would make me so uncomfortable, so anxious. And this might mean nothing. This might be completely pointless to add. But there was one time we were down here and I was getting images in my head. Like, it was my imagination. But I do believe in the world of like psychic abilities and stuff. And I believe that, yeah, I'm not going to get into it now. Basically, psychic abilities are a thing, and you can get flashes in your imagination
that could be like someone or something, or even your own intuition trying to warn you of something. So just setting the stage to where I am with this, I would go down here, and there was several times where I was like getting flashes and images of the Mothman, of the Mothman Prophecies movie. And I was like, why the hell am I thinking about the Mothman when I come down here? Why does this area that scares the shit out of me make me think of the Mothman? Which I think is interesting that this line of train tracks that comes right down 7th Avenue, this line of train tracks right here that I keep grabbing comes all the way up to here. I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but that is why I suddenly became so invested in this story, because there was a sighting here, and there was a sighting, where is it? Right here. Here and here. Right? I know this area. This is my hometown. So I don't know if my anxiety made me think of the Mothman and that's why, but there's just this, there's a connection that I can't explain, and I feel like maybe this Mothman has been down here before and just nobody has seen it. Because there's another sighting. Where is it? Over here. Winged gargoyle. Now, my fiance used to work out here, and she was a security guard. And I'm not going to say where because I don't want to dox her, but there was a location where one night she was by herself guarding overnight, and she just became so spooked because part of her job was she needed to get in a golf cart and drive around the premises. And there was one night she was so spooked she refused to leave the guard shack. And it was just so spooky to her. So it makes me, it's like, okay, pieces are connecting right here. And again, I'm just seeing patterns, and it might have nothing to do with it. I'm just adding this in there to explain why I became so invested. So, my fiance has a spooky encounter and just feels this presence of like, get the fuck out of here, go back inside. And right over here, there was a sighting of something. CM was driving home from work at 1:20 a.m. during the last week of September 2019. He left Kenosha, Wisconsin, and drove north on 31, which is Green Bay Road. 31. Towards his home in Racine. He got off at North Green Bay Road and drove towards 38. So let's see. Hey, this is 31, and he got off here to go down 38. Oh, hey, there's the zoo over there. So wait, no, he went this way down 38. My bad. 31, 38, and Racine's weird because you'll be driving down one road and you think you're going south, and all of a sudden you cross with a street that indicates that suddenly you were driving north, not south, and it's like, wait, what the fuck? Racine's weird. So this guy is driving down this way, down 31, and turns onto 38. He described seeing a 6-foot humanoid with bat-like wings extending from its back. It was very dark in color, and when his headlights hit the being, the wings unfurled and it quickly ascended into the air. The body was thin, and the head somewhat small in comparison. There was a distinctive eye shine with a reddish tint. CM believes that this being was eating roadkill. CM was very insistent that a vehicle far ahead of him hit the brakes about the same time he observed the creature. CM believes there was a possibility that another similar winged entity may have been present further down the road. Note, there has been a lot of construction in that area in the last year. Yeah, this whole area is constantly under construction. Constantly. I used to live over here, used to drive people around over here. I've spent more time than I'd like to admit down here. It's always under construction. So, I don't know. I just think this is why I am emotionally invested in this situation. And I think I'm going to wrap it up here because I've been going on for fucking ever. It might be my imagination getting away with me. It might be me just being completely crazy, which is completely possible. But I think it's interesting that my fiance got really spooked by something when she worked over here. Lo and behold, there is a sighting of something over here. And then I had this weird, spooky feeling driving down this one road over here in the general area. And then I lived over here, and there was something at the location where I have been to before. Amidst all of this, like, there's all this hub, this central area of sightings, but it still went up all the way up here, because here's the 3 sightings I just talked about. I don't know. Maybe I'm just seeing things. Maybe I'm seeing patterns where there are none. But that's when I started going like, I need to look into this. But I think that about wraps it up. So, yeah, that about wraps it up. I just wanted to present some information, and I wanted to talk about the Mothman, because the Mothman has been one of my favorite cryptids of all time, one of my favorite research topics, and then come to find out that it or something similar has been sighted in the area that I am from and I grew up in. That just like, yes, 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 yes. But I'm sorry if I seemed a little off topic and off point, but I just got really excited because I'm from there, and maybe the fact that I've been there and I can actually give some insight to the situation, actually add some first person detail, makes it might add something to this video, and that's what I'm hoping for. So I might seem silly, I might seem like I'm just putting pieces together, but I'm not deliberately trying to sensationalize this. This is me, my feelings, and how I feel about it, and why I think it's cool. When researching this topic, I was scrolling through Reddit, and somebody else noticed that Lon Stickler also was everywhere with this. And they had suggested that maybe Lon Stickler had made some of it up or embellished it to inflate the actual number of sightings, but I don't think that's accurate. Just because looking into these myself, it looks like the reports come from people who know the area. The reports come from people who have firsthand experience in this location, in this area, locals that know what they're talking about, is what it seems like for most of these sightings that I looked into. And then for myself included, with the last couple of sightings that I talked about in my home area, the people that reported, even if they weren't locals, like the ones that were from Kenosha that had the sighting in Kenosha and were leaving Kenosha, that you can't make that up, is what I'm saying. I mean, you could with deep research, but this guy is going over a fucking 100 sightings going back till 1976. So I don't think that he made it up. That's part of why I wanted to add my own knowledge of the location in the last couple sightings. Because I don't believe he's making it up. Do I think there's a chance that it's actually... Oh, hell, my glasses. Anyhow, is there a chance that I think that it's not the Mothman and it's actually just a big ass bird? Because there's cranes around there, okay? That could account for some of the sightings. There's peregrine falcons. That could account for some of the sightings. That is all, especially with the one talking about the one going into Racine. He thought that it looked like the thing was um, eating roadkill. So that makes sense for a falcon or a hawk or something, because there's all kinds of big ass birds around there. Not huge, gigantic birds, but big ass birds that are in that area. Absolutely. Is it the Mothman? No idea. Do I think it's the same thing, the same Mothman? No. I think it's something else entirely, because with the original Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, these sightings all talked about this thing, this Mothman, having feathers. This thing does not seem to have feathers. If I were going to give it a title, I would call it the Chicago Gargoyle or something. It's just that the Mothman is the biggest, easiest, similar cryptid that everybody knows, and now people know it as the Chicago Mothman. I don't think it's Mothman. I really, really don't. As much as I would like for it to be, as much as I would like to connect the pieces and say, hey, why was I getting flashes and images of the Mothman in my head if it wasn't the Mothman? The mind is a faulty freaking thing. You see things, and your brain makes sense of it whether there is no sense to be made of it at all or not. So I just thought it was really cool. I'm just saying this is all really cool. Here's some information. At the end of the day, it's all just for fun. Do I think anybody's about to get carried off and flown away off to another dimension? No. Is it cool and fun to talk about? Hell fucking yeah. And that's what these internet adventures are going to be. On that note, do you have any cool thing that you would like me to dig into? Any sort of. It doesn't have to be cryptids, just something that's sort of like darker and spookier, like I did the Ghosts of Halo. This one's the Mothman, the Chicago Mothman. It could be anything that I would find interesting enough to dig deeper. And that is the end of today's internet or coffee table internet adventure. Is that what I called these? I don't know. Until next time, much love, peace out, namaste, and goodbye.